Hello and welcome to the super... I'm going to start again because Jamie's rubbing his eye.
It's fucking... It's allergy season. I've got hay fever.
Fine. Hello and welcome to the SuperShow podcast. I'm your host Chris and I'm joined by Rock Hard Jamie and saggy and soft Alex Jones.
Big time.
It's true.
I'm amazed you can tell through the camera, but it's true. Rock hard right now.
Yeah. Yes, welcome to the Super Show. We are a gaming podcast on YouTube and podcasting platform of your choice. Spotify did not pay us $10 gajillion to be exclusively on their platform, so we're on iTunes and Google Podcasts as well as some others. I don't know, just fucking go find it. Search Super Show Podcast. There you go.
We're also wider spread than Joe Rogan.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe. You can also follow us on social media, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, at Super Show Pod. Now, we've got a lot to talk about today. Obviously, a lot of stuff's been kicking off. A couple of things being delayed. We're going to get into that later. But before we get started, boys, this podcast is brought to you by some lovely, lovely people. Some call them patrons. So I got some shout-outs. So we're looking at Brett Zerbrigg, Hacksaw Book Read, Matthew Fronzo, Mindful Pig, Peaswad, Tristan Harris, The Dude Abides, William Sherry, thank you so much. And of course, the two big boys, I love them so much, Lonnie Thompson and Skylar Music. Love you guys.
All.
And listen,
Nice
we're not just saying out names to say them, right? These guys are helping us achieve our dreams. But they're also getting some stuff in return, like some videos, exclusive videos, on our Patreon. In fact, after this podcast recording, we're going to record a little bit of a Patreon exclusive. Hopefully we'll go up by the weekend. But there's loads of stuff there already. If you want to support us and maybe get something back in return, go check it out. You can get access to our Discord server. You can get... Jamie and I recorded a spoiler cast for our thoughts on Final Fantasy VII that was an hour long, and we probably could have spoken for about another 2 hours on the topic.
We certainly could have, yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't listened to it yet. I need to listen to it.
Get on it. Well,
you haven't played it. You'd be spoiled for you.
Well,
I'm never playing it. Like, who cares?
That's what's a spoiler cast. I was thinking maybe I should just change that. We should do it regularly for each game we play, and instead of call it the spoiler cast, just call it the shit cast and just shit all over the games.
Wow. What if the games are good?
Shit on them anyway.
It's a shit cast, Jamie. Like, what do you want me to tell you? It's a shit. It's in the name.
There are a couple of games coming out that I will not participate in the shitcast for.
Yeah. Would The Last of Us Part 2 be one of them?
I don't want to jinx it, but hopefully we don't need a Last of Us 2 shitcast. Spoiler cast, maybe. Well,
look, talking about Last of Us Part 2 leads us nicely into our comment of the week. Da-da-da-da. We need to get a little jingle for comments of the week. Go on, Jonesy.
Make one now.
Go on, Jonesy.
I don't know. I'm not that musical. I'm sorry.
There we go.
Da-da-da-da-da-da. Comment of the week.
You know what? It got better as it went on, but that's a 4 out of 10 right there.
Yeah, that's
not good.
That's really
low energy, not very enthusiastic. I feel like on your part, like you could.
That would be accurate.
You could have put more of yourself into it. I feel like.
Right. I apologise.
Yeah, I think we should cancel Alex Jones. Anyway, comment of the week coming in from Captain Redbeard. I agree with Jamie about the dogs. I'm all for realism, but I'm still trying to play a game. Everyone knows that enemies are allowed 2 senses, sight and sound. Beyond that, devs are just simply doing too much. So, an interesting one. Though. So the dogs being a new feature in Last of Us Part 2 where they can actually sniff your scent. I want to know, what do you think Ellie smells like?
I mean, she's
mud and shit.
Exactly. She leaves the relative safety of a settlement that she was in to go on a big, long revenge mission that probably takes a little bit of time. Like, she starts the game by traveling from Wyoming to Seattle. I don't know what that journey's like, but it could be long. And I think Josie's right. There's a lot of mud. There's a lot of sweat. There's a lot of shit. She probably has to piss herself a few times for the body warmth. Kind of like a Bear Grylls situation.
Okay, I like it.
And mold as well.
Yeah, lots of mold and damp.
Yeah.
Like, nothing smells good about that.
Yeah.
General damp.
Like,
right. So
where's she having a shower? She's not having a shower.
Not.
And in every trailer, she looks grubby. So
no, but she likes to go for a bit of a swim in a stream. You know,
that doesn't clean you. Anyone who thinks that you can just swim through a stream and you're magically clean
But here's another point, right? If I was living through some kind of like a fungal apocalypse, the last thing I'd want to do is just go swimming in some fucking random stream. Have they not heard of bilharzia?
Yes.
Yeah.
I haven't heard of that either, but you know.
Me neither. But that's the video game trope, isn't it? Every video game character ever like dries off within 5 seconds of coming out of the water. It's one of the weird advancements we've made over the recent years. It's like we've mastered the technology to make characters and their clothes look wet, but we've also mastered the technology to make them dry within 10 seconds.
I'd like if it was more real, like you get out of the river or whatever, and you're trying to be all stealthy, but as you're trying to like tiptoe, it just goes.
Or like
squelch.
10 minutes after you come out of the water, like you start losing health and you get a little tooltip that comes up being like, Ellie now has hypothermia as a result of the fact that she didn't fucking try. Buy the wetsuit upgrade.
It's like in Red Dead 2, though, when you got blood all over your shoulders and your body, you walk through one stream and suddenly you are pristine white.
Yeah.
It's like all the water in that game is actually bold, like just pure bold.
Big time.
Yeah. Well, okay, but I mean, back to the comment. Dogs, Jamie, you hate dogs, so it's up to you.
I hate dogs.
You hate dogs.
It's a meme.
Hold on. I've seen you
Jamie
kick
hates
dogs in virtual reality. I've seen you throw grenades at dogs in virtual reality. I've seen you cats as well. I've seen you use a cat as a silencer in a game. So,
okay.
What is it?
First of all,
yeah.
That was Postal. Okay.
Okay.
In which cats are silencers. I didn't design that. Okay, it's just that's part of the game.
But you reveled in it.
Who wouldn't? Okay, fuck cats. I'm not afraid to take that stance. It's dogs that I've got to defend myself. I had one Far Cry stream where things got a little bit heated. I accidentally blew up my dog with a rocket launcher, and then from there, kind of played up to the joke a little bit.
I'm pretty sure I've seen you try and kill a dog.
Yeah, exactly.
That you couldn't kill in a game as well. You just kept shooting it.
What
Used
game?
every bullet you. I can't remember. Maybe it was the Division or something.
You guys are making this up.
Like,
In the Division,
I've definitely seen.
I only killed deers in the Division.
I've definitely seen you shoot a dog while I was trying to take a shit in the Division. Come on.
Definitely.
100%. And not only that, you went up behind the dog and shoot it up its anus.
Yes, I did. I remember that. Jamie was the only guy laughing in the screening when he saw Legend. I Am Legend when Sam dies.
Oh.
Jamie was there laughing.
Okay, yeah, very
Kill that
funny.
dog.
Yeah,
Very funny.
Jamie logs onto Rotten Tomatoes. 10 out of 10, best game ever. Best
dog,
movie,
10 out of
best
10.
movie ever.
He didn't like Independence Day because the dog survives. Boomer makes it, and he gets really angry.
Okay, but jokes aside. Jokes aside,
Jokes aside, like I don't know. I think the idea, I think what Captain Redbeard's getting at is actually kind of interesting. Giving enemies an extra sense by which to detect you is actually a little bit scary. We've already had games that have and The Last of Us being one of them, that play up on audio. The whole thing with the clickers, how they track your movements through listening to you, and you, don't step on the broken glass, Joel. That kind of shit.
Yeah.
And now it's like, fucking, don't let them smell your hairy armpits, Ellie. I'm just presuming they're hairy because, again, shaving, another thing you probably don't do much of in the apocalypse.
No, it's an upgrade, Jamie. It's an upgrade. You get enough.
Right.
You pick up enough Venus razor blades, and
Yeah. But you know what makes it interesting?
It lowers your smell detection level
Do you
by
know
like
what?
5 points.
I would go down that upgrade path. I would spec out in a direction that reduces my scent, my stench. But you know what's interesting? This applies to the characters, like the enemy characters in the game, but also to the dogs. One of the things that Naughty Dog are really trying to do with The Last of Us 2 is present this idea. If you watch the interviews, they always talk about the cycle of violence, and this idea that if you kind of take a step back and remove yourself from being more familiar with Ellie or the Vengeance Tale or anything like that, that it's the cycle of violence creates a situation where there are no heroes and are no villains. There are no good guys and bad guys. There's just death following death. And one of the ways they're trying to reinforce that is enemy characters and indeed the dogs have names and have like relationships with each other.
Oh yeah, because they had one dude got killed in the video, and then someone else was like, "Oh,
yeah,
Jonathan."
Exactly.
What's
So like
happened?
you'll kill someone, and if another enemy witnesses the killing,
Shouldn't have called your kid Jonathan. Your dog, not your
come
kid.
on,
Sorry.
Jonathan's a fine
Well,
name.
hey, it's better than Benjamin, right? So
Benjamin the dog.
I grew up with a Benjamin, but he went by Benji, which
you
I never saw.
guys don't get my reference. It's all right. Don't worry.
Benjamin, like Benjamin Franklin's dollar bills.
No, don't worry.
Rolling in the Benjamin School of Rock. I'm with you, Chris. Don't worry. You and me.
Okay, yeah, sure.
We're in this together. But yeah, I think that's interesting. The idea that like taking what's already a difficult thing for some people, the act of fucking killing dogs, and making it that much difficult with the idea of like, yo, that dog's called Booster, and you've just killed it in front of his owner, and his owner emotionally reacted to his death. I think that's an interesting design choice that, I mean, I don't know if it probably won't affect most people, because I feel like we're all on the autistic spectrum and don't have like emotional responses to killing people in video games anymore.
Oh
so
yeah, I think
fine.
once you're in game mode, like fuck, it's and it's be or be killed, right?
But that's what all the journalists are saying at the moment. It's like, oh, it's so violent. You've put the knife in his neck, and oh my god.
I want to say there was a bit in Army of Two 2. I can't remember what it was called.
The 40th day.
The 40th day, right?
One of Jamie's favourite games.
Yeah.
Do you remember
fucking Salem and Rios?
Do you remember in that game that they had a weird mechanic that they almost like Austin Powers, but it was like this, that they tried to show you the outcomes of your actions.
Yeah.
And there was one section where there's a tiger, a glorious beast, a tiger, and you decide whether or not to kill the tiger. And saying like you're in game mode so you don't care. And I was like, I'm not going to kill this tiger. Like that seems out of order. It's just a tiger. And I was thinking it's pretty secure where it is. Someone will come and trank it and take it away. It then shows you a clip, because I didn't kill it, of the tiger then mauling some people, and you're like, you should have killed the fucking tiger.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's outrageous. How was I to know that was going to happen? It's so stupid.
I loved it. I
digress.
It
reminded me of the Austin Powers where they like start. He had a name. His name was Schmitty.
Yeah, and then it goes to like Schmitty's wife, and it's like, hello, yes, this is Schmitty's wife. Yeah. What? He's dead. And he goes,
and then there's a scene.
Timmy. She goes, Timmy, Daddy's not coming home.
That's it.
And then there's another scene, like, I think it must be. It's weirdly enough, it's Rob Lowe before Rob Lowe got cast to play a young number 2, and they're like, it's all his friends at the bar, like celebrating his death.
That's the
like,
Schmitty one.
Right.
He says to Schmitty.
Yeah,
to Schmitty. Yeah. No, Chris is right. You're right, Jamie. Chris is right. There's another one where I don't know that guy's name. Where
wasn't he just the factory worker who got run over by the really slow steamroller?
No, I think the one with the wife and the son is the one who gets decapitated by an ill-tempered mutated sea bass. Because I want to say the mum on the phone goes, "What? He was decapitated by an ill-tempered mutated sea bass?"
Yeah, Chris is right. Is in the other one, the one whose family is the one that stands in front of the really slow moving steamroller, right? And that's in the same scene as I brought you your orange sherbet.
And it's also in the same corridor where he does the fucking 55-point turn.
No. He's fucking.
Can we just start a Austin Powers podcast, please?
Wow.
we got to do the Matrix one first, but yeah, sure. Okay, yeah. I'll give you my 2 cents on the dog thing. I agree. It's maybe a bit much, to put onto players' plates. But if you look at it a different way, it adds a lot of enemy variety, which I felt was kind of almost missing from The Last of Us. I mean, It's hard, right? Like, humans are humans. Like, how can you really have variety? But I think it's good. And if you think of it as just a different mechanic that you have to kind of deal with, I think it's all right. Mm-hmm. They're not always going to be there.
No, the variety is a great point, because it's something they're doubling down with as well when it comes to the factions. They have the WLF, which are like this group of people that were put under quarantine but like overthrew the army and now have all their guns. Yeah. And then you have the Seraphites, or the Scars, who are like use bow and arrows and hide in the shrubbery and use stealth and like whistle to each other.
I'd be more fucking freaked out by that, to be honest.
Oh yeah, like fighting them's gonna be fucked up.
Oh, even worse.
They're stealthy. Yeah,
even worse when they talk about the some of the mutated fucking, I don't know what the word is, the zombies.
Oh, the new zombies.
The new ones that kind of, what do they call them? Creepers or something.
The Shambler, is it?
No. The what? Because I.
There's one type that was like very briefly in The Last of Us, but is now going to be much more in The Last of Us 2. The Stalker or something.
Yeah, the Stalker. It's quiet and it just sneaks up behind you and it's just ready to attack.
Yeah.
Fuck
it's like one of the only things you can't sense its movement because it sneaks up on you, so you never know it's there.
I'm not looking forward to hearing that sound from clickers again. I just suddenly thought that when you said that. I can't
do it.
Oh, it's going to make me freak out while I'm playing it. But I like the dog thing. I think the dog thing is an interesting thing to add in. Also, it's not actually that accurate to say that enemies don't have a sense of smell, because of course in Death Stranding, when you wanted to scare off some of what are they called?
I'm forgetting the names now.
The black floating things, the spirit.
Oh,
what are they called?
Oh, for fuck's sake! The strand.
What are they called?
The floating ones. The
BTs.
BTs.
BTs. The beach things.
BTs.
The beach things.
The beach things. To scare off beach things, you throw your piss and your shit and your sweat at them, and then obviously they go, "Oh, the smell," and then they piss off.
That's a good point.
Exactly they can smell.
What if you can have an upgrade where Ellie shits in her hand and smears it on a wall, or even better, craft a like a proximity mine, smear her shit on it, and then leave it there for the dog to go sniff.
I think you'd have to piss on it. You couldn't shit. I don't think dogs would care about your shit. They like piss, don't they?
I don't know, man. Like dogs like sticking their nose up other dogs' fucking assholes. So who knows?
It's true.
You joke, but I think that if they're having it in games that dogs can smell you, they're going to have a mechanic whereby you can craft something which smells of piss from probably a bigger dog or like a wolf or something, that if you spray it, it makes the dog run away.
I guess if you're in Wyoming, maybe you get like because can't you buy for hunters
mountain lions? Are they in Wyoming?
Yeah, but don't like hunters get
mountain
like
lion piss,
elk piss or something that they can like spray.
To attract other elk.
Yeah.
But then I'm trying to think, what would a dog be afraid of? And I guess like maybe a mountain lion or a wolf or something dogs would be afraid of. So they'd smell it and go, oh.
Just like, a cardboard cutout of Jamie. Dogs will run miles. They'll be like...
Well, you joke, but like Chris talking about Ellie smearing shit over her and stuff like that reminded me of... basically, the other day, full transparency, I thought I was going to get mugged. And I kind of went into fight or flight mode, but I wasn't thinking properly about ways to actually prevent myself getting mugged. I basically just ran away. And I realised afterwards that I'd forgotten...
Is this recent?
It's about a week or two ago.
Yeah, he spoke about it on the Discord, dude. Come on.
Yeah,
I did not read that.
I didn't talk about it on the podcast. But I can tell the story, but it's not very interesting, that's all. But I realised afterwards that actually one of the best ways to deal with getting mugged, if you can deal with the embarrassment, which I think I probably could have in the scenario, is just pull your pants and trousers down. Because, like, which dude, if someone's trying to, like, take your phone or something, what dude wants to come near you if you full-on got your dick out? Most of them would be like, it's not worth it.
I don't think that would work. I think they would laugh and then kick you until you fell over, and then they'd kick you in the dick.
I think
you'd be in real trouble.
Because I grab my dick and run towards them going...
I think I've got a slightly better one than that. We all know this from being kids. What you need is poo on a stick. Because if you have poo on a stick, then they're not coming anywhere near you. If you just have poopy stick, especially if it's dog poo.
Just have it with you at all times.
Yeah, so...
Yeah, pull out
top tip from the Super Show, just always carry a poo on a stick with you.
Do you want pink eye? And just start rubbing it on their face.
Pink eye?
Dog pink eye as well. That's the worst type.
Okay, well, look, anyway, Jamie, seeing as you were talking about what you've been up to, almost getting mugged, why don't you let us know what's been happening since the last time we recorded this podcast?
A fair bit of gaming, to be honest, but just nothing particularly exciting in terms of the games themselves.
Right.
So I did a little bit of cleanup. You guys, I've put you to shame. I'm not going to lie. I completed Minecraft Dungeons.
Oh,
right,
because we were going to hop back in and we were going to finish it, but we did not get around to it.
Yeah, okay, but hold on. You say you completed it. It probably only took you like an hour.
Maybe even more, because shout out to Steph, the person who not only replies to my messages, but it actually makes himself available to be an active participant in my life.
I said I couldn't. I did reply and said I can't
actually,
do it
you're right.
tonight.
You're right, Jonesy. Chris, what was your excuse? Oh, that's right. You didn't even bother making one.
When did you...
I think it was Monday, was it? Was it Monday?
I don't actually remember.
I think it was a case of Jonesy beat me to it, and I was just like, well, Jonesy's killed it, so...
Same.
Yeah, the truth, I hit up Steph afterwards, and Steph is always down for stuff like that, so we completed it. We actually... you're probably right, but the thing we forgot is that Steph dropped out of our previous session of that game early.
Oh, right,
so I had to go back and do 2 missions I'd already done, then the 2 we hadn't done together. Plus, we failed at the final mission twice and had to go back and grind both times. So we played for like 2 or 3 hours in the end. I completed that game, and I am more down on it now than I was last time. Fair enough. Don't pay full price for Minecraft Dungeons. There you go. There's a little tagline.
It's mad though, because
it's not much of a game.
No,
it's
not. And I was thinking about the other day. It was in development for like a chunky time, right?
Right.
Do you know what it feels like to me? I mean, I don't know if you guys will feel the same. If this was early access, I would have said, oh, like, I totally get it. They've effectively... So, I don't... Obviously, it's not the same, but the way in which, say, something like Star Citizen's very different, but they create elements of the game which will exist in the final game, and they go, you can play this like a module of this game with one of these things that in the actual game there'll be 100 of. If they said, oh, this is Minecraft Dungeons Early Access, here's 2 shopkeepers, it's very limited, this is a number of missions, I would have said... Oh, like, I get it, but they haven't.
They are.
Like,
I haven't read too much on it, but I know that they are going to be releasing DLC. In fact, in the map, there is like an islands thing that you, like another mission, but you can't click on it. It's like coming soon. But I don't know if they're going to...
That's DLC, man. That shouldn't be an add-on. That should be...
That's what I'm saying. I don't know if it's...
paid for.
If it's paid for, if they're just going to release it. Because if they release it, then fair play. That's kind of what it is, right? Because if they release a new region for free, like in a month's time, and a few more shopkeepers, some more items, then that's fair. But as it is, I think it's very Spartan.
You know, gameplay wise, it's obviously completely different, but it reminds me a little bit of sort of maybe the aesthetic, I suppose, of like just the menus. Really is what's it called? Broforce.
Oh,
interesting. Interesting.
Purely because Broforce had like the little overworld, and you could go to the little islands and you could do levels. There were so many levels in that game, and they constantly added new ones completely for free, and it was like constant.
And new characters,
I think I've put new characters, new places, new islands, new maps. I think I put like 60 hours into Broforce. It's a cheap fucking game. It's a cheap fucking game.
No, don't do that, Jamie. Don't game shame Jonesy. How dare you?
I'll game shame Jonesy about fucking Broforce every day.
No, I completely get it.
Average action platformer,
It's fun,
average.
but I get how you can sink 60 hours into something like that, because it's so easy to just pick up, play for an hour, and then put it down.
No, Jonesy put 60 hours into it because he used to play it at work.
I used to play at lunchtime at work. I'd play for half an hour, and if you think about it, that's only 120 days to play 60 hours. And you could do a level. You could do a level or 2 levels in half an hour. So.
I think
but what I was going to say was,
accessible.
it feels like that Minecraft Dungeons feels like that kind of little snapshot. This one level, this one area. It needs to have like 20 hours, 15 hours of gameplay for me, and it's what 3, 4, something like that.
I think a bit. I think a bit more, but some of the ways its timeline is extended, some of the ways they make it last longer feel artificial and kind of a little bit.
Is that like the difficulty things and when you start the mission?
Yeah, the fact that we made it through the entirety of that game, like Steph and I, those last like 3 or 4 missions leading up to the end, without wiping once, and then got to the final mission and wiped on it twice, felt fucked up. I was angry at the time.
Right.
Steph got to experience a bit of the red mist. Not since Wolfenstein Youngblood have Steph and I had a co-op experience that made me angry.
Do you feel like that was done on purpose in order to force you to do some more grinding in order to drag out the end of the game?
I don't know. Right. There's a part of me that thinks that. There's a part of me that's like, it's not that kind of game, but like maybe.
Right.
Maybe.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
To be fair, once we went back and did an older level on a higher difficulty, it was a breeze. We just had to get some of the right gear. Yeah.
Right.
It's all right. Yeah. But I'm not super hot on that game.
Yeah.
Another thing I completed this past week, Saints Row the Third Remastered, which I just kind of blitzed through.
Nice.
Turns out Saints Row the Third Remastered is still very much Saints Row the Third, for better and for worse. Kind of like a pretty antiquated take on the open world kind of crime game, which is unsurprising considering it came out in 2011. It's still the same game, but like some parts of it just haven't aged particularly well over the last 9 years, kind of in not a surprising way. I will still give a shout out to one of the things that Saints Row the Third did, and Saints Row 4 to a certain extent, that loads of other games still don't really do. And I don't know if it's a licensing issue or what, but it's using tracks that they licensed anyway for the fucking radio, because they've all got radios in these games.
Yeah.
And using them in the score for missions. And like Saints Row the Third does it all the time. I think the most famous one is near the beginning. You're parachuting. You've just skydived and you're parachuting onto a rooftop penthouse, and you're during a party, and you're just going to kill everyone there and take over the penthouse. And Power by Kanye West is playing. As one of the more
right.
famous examples. It's like, why don't games do that? Like, those moments could be so powerful and so good.
Well,
There's
a game did it last year,
which one?
and it was but it wasn't part of like the soundtrack. It was just a set piece, but it was Control,
Oh, right, yeah, exactly. Like
the Astro Maze, and
Right.
and people are like, oh, it's one of the best fucking set pieces
Like-
of the last 5 years or whatever it was. It's like, yeah, it's good, but it wasn't like amazing, but it felt good because it was so.
Dude, yeah, Saints Row 3
Yeah.
does that a couple of times, and it always works. Like, you know the song from I only know it from Shrek 2, but I Need a Hero.
Yes.
Like that plays during the final mission when you're like sprinting onto Saints Row the Third's version of like the Statue of Liberty Island thing to
Yeah.
defuse these bombs that have been placed around this giant statue, and that having that song playing when you're sprinting and shooting people, it's like this feels
That's
like
cool,
a,
man. I
it
like
feels
that,
like a
yeah.
movie. I don't know why more games don't do it.
Yeah, they should for sure.
That was my first and last Saints Row game was 3, and I didn't finish it. I don't know why. I think I kind of
You hold on.
I did enjoy it, but
You did-
yeah, I know I didn't finish the
You
game.
finish it,
Shocking.
All right,
It's big and long. and I
it's
gave
big
up.
and long. So. Wow. Okay, well, Jonesy, what about you? Have you?
So the only game I have played this past week has been some Ring Fit. So
fair enough.
I can leave that right there.
I also I actually finished the third game as
there you
well.
go.
Sorry, I'll
Yeah.
quickly say I started and finished Battlefront 2 this week.
Oh, right.
I'd,
weird,
I'd
okay.
never played that campaign, and that game's free on
But
PlayStation Plus.
it's not a long campaign, right? Like 5 hours? Not even?
But yeah, 4 or 5 hours. It's fine. It's fine. That game's
Yeah.
fine.
It's fine. I love that.
I more just
It's
wanted to
fine.
bring it up because I finished 3 games this week, and Jonesy played Ring Fit Adventure. That's all I really wanted to bring it up for.
This is the thing. I don't think I don't know. Maybe I mentioned it last week, but so now I am full time looking after my kids, apart from doing this basically,
Yeah.
while my wife is working, and because so which means I get the only time I think I get like to play games is like quite late in the evening, and then because of this week I've been working in the evenings as well. So the idea that I could sit down, like when you just say then, I bashed out Battlefront 2, I'm like, you absolute cunt. I would love to be able to sit down for 5 hours and just play a game.
Yeah.
But and so when I played Ring Fit, the reason I played Ring Fit was because my 4-year-old was like, Daddy, can we play Ring Fit? I was like, yeah, sure, let's play some Ring Fit.
Now watch this drive.
Yeah. I got to play one world, and then he was like, it's my turn. I was like, okay, go for it.
Wow. Okay.
Shocking.
It's not easy. Yeah.
Parenthood.
Yeah, no, I know. It's fun to joke, but obviously there's a lot of plates to spin in your world.
Yeah.
and yours too, Chris.
Yeah.
Don't feel sorry for me. Nobody feels sorry for me.
I think Jonesy said it right. Like fucking, I wish I had time to finish games because it's not for lack of wanting. But
Don't get me wrong, before I had kids, I still didn't finish games. This isn't like
Alright,
the excuse
fine,
to
yeah.
why I didn't finish them. I put 60 hours into Broforce, come on.
yeah, from my side, I've been playing a lot of Dota. Obviously, the Battle Pass is coming out.
Right.
Just trying to get levels, and the levels get you new stuff. That's how Battle Passes work. Been having a lot of fun with it, even though the patch for the game at the moment is just so boring. It's like one of those things where you'll get into a match, and depending on how so let's say matches last about, I don't know, anywhere between 35 minutes and an hour, right? And the way that this patch is kind of worked out is the result is probably worked out in about the first 15 minutes. But you still have to kind of play through it, right?
Sit there knowing the outcome for another sometimes 45 minutes.
Yeah, it's not. Look, don't get me wrong. You can always do a comeback, but it's one of those patches where by like 15 minutes, if you're behind, it's very hard to get back ahead.
Yeah.
God, that's amazing to me that I don't play Dota, but I'm amazed that they can have such a powerful patch brought into a game which has been around for such a long time.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
surely that puts a whole load of people off the game, like to suddenly change how that game functions mechanically.
Yeah, but so the changes that happen where the game kind of slows down or speeds up or is more fair or less fair, that's all the kind of macro level changes. And I think people don't really care too much about that. But it's obviously you do experience it in the game. So it's a case of like how much gold you get for killing an enemy or
Right.
weird like macro level stuff. But people that are in the game they like the micro level changes, so the per character changes, the skill changes, the item changes. That's what I always get excited when a new patch comes out, just because whether it's good or bad, it's just like a fresh coat of paint, you know?
Right.
It's like, imagine taking... Well, it's almost like, okay, if you take Warzone, right, and you say, okay, every single gun, we will change their values relatively drastically, so that, you know, for like a prime numbered patch change. You know, we could be like, oh, this gun just shoots fire, and this gun now is an ice gun, you know, shit like that. It's cool. I like it. It's really cool. But I can definitely see how it could put people off if you're trying to learn the game, because it just adds to the complexity, I guess.
Because you've now got 15 minutes to learn the game as opposed to the full length of the game.
Oh, dude, yeah. There's this one dude I watch on YouTube. It's called Purge. So if you're starting Dota, he's the kind of resource you go to, because he's done this thing called Welcome to Dota 2, You Suck. And it kind of explains all the mechanics that you need.
Accurate.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
It explains the mechanics going into it from a new starter level. But then on his YouTube channel, he plays games, and he gives commentary on his games, etc., gives tips. And every time a patch comes out, he reads out the patch notes as a first take, and he live streams it. And I think the last major patch that he did was 8 hours long.
I remember you watching the video of him reading it and thinking, what are you doing?
It's part of the reason why I started watching videos at 2 times speed on YouTube.
Because I've only got 4 hours to watch this video. Yeah. I don't have 8.
Yeah.
Still, you know, finding 4 hours to watch a Dota 2 patch update video during a working day was still pretty good going. Like, you made it work. 4 hour long lunch break.
I won't make any comments about the demise of ATG.
Oh, come on, it wasn't that. And I did not watch it all in one go, you dillhole.
ATG would have been the biggest gaming show on the planet if it wasn't for the patch that Dota released.
Yeah.
Chris was supposed to be at a really important meeting, and he was like, I'm really sorry, I can't make it. Dota have released it.
You guys are painting me in a bad light. No, I don't like this.
I'm only messing
terrible.
He's teasing.
We're messing.
But yeah, besides that, there was another game that I played. It's weird, right? So after playing Minecraft, I just kind of got an itch for that style, dungeon crawler, hack and slash kind of thing. So it's like, someone on the chat, I think it was Joel Asp, was asking what other games would be similar to like a Diablo or, you know, etc. And I was giving him some advice. I was like, you know, you could go Path of Exile, which is a free-to-play game. They just had a new patch, a new expansion released called Harvest, which I think gets into some like farming bullshit, whatever. There was that Wolcen, Lords of the Fallen, that was pretty hot on Steam a couple of months back.
I remember.
But there was a game that, like, so, you know, you open up Steam and on the front page it's got these like the recommendations, and one of them was for this like pixel art looking game called Stone Shard, and I always thought it looked pretty cool. It looked like an old school kind of like Ultima, you know, dungeon crawler hack and slash. You've got your paper doll where you put your, you know, your weapon and your shield and this, that, the other, and it looked pretty cool. But I never really wanted to take the plunge. But then I saw that they had a what they called Stone Shard Prologue, which is effectively a demo. So I downloaded that and I thought that looked pretty cool. I played through it, and that is a cool game. Very fucking deep and complex, but like to the point where it can turn a lot of people off, right? Let's say you're fighting some dudes and you get damage in your leg and you start bleeding in your leg, and then your leg kind of like you break a couple of bones. So what you have to do is you need to set a splint, then you need to take a healing salve, you know, or if you get a cut on your arm, it's bleeding. So you can't just take a healing salve to gain some health because you're bleeding. So you got to bandage it up. It's just like a level of complexity that I kind of like in games.
This is like a war hospital sim that I don't want to play.
Yeah, but it's cool.
Soldier, you've got gangrene. You've got to take 2 weeks of antibiotics. You know.
Yeah, it's cool. But what it did kind of reaffirm to me is that my time is... I don't have enough time for games like that, so it's a good thing.
I thought you were going to say it made me realise my time is short.
Yeah, my time is short.
I kept nearly dying, and I realised how short my time was on this planet.
No, it made me realise that I should probably fix that broken leg that I've had since 2017. But you know,
the one that's bleeding and a few broken bones.
Got a bit
and now you know how to fix it.
Yeah, it's got a bit gangrenous, but it's fine. No, it made me realise that that I just don't have the time to play complex games anymore.
No, me either. It's
I've
dabbled in the past, and nowadays it's just non-existent.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll be able to get into it. Like, let the COVID thing ease up a bit.
Yeah.
Roll on Cyberpunk 2077.
Well, that's the thing I was going to say is there are still hopefully games on the horizon where you can look at a date in time and say to yourself and to any other parties it applies to, like, look, this game is coming out on this date and I want to have some time for it. Let me front load my daddy stuff and let me give me some gaming hours.
Don't get me wrong. It's what I did with Final Fantasy VII, because that's not necessarily an uncomplex game, right?
No,
I just have to play it at night, and I just each night I have to kind of I mentioned it before, kind of the squirrel gaming. You stuff your mouth full of nuts, basically. 2-hour nuts of gaming each night, and eventually you'll have a mouthful of nuts. Everybody wants nuts in their mouth, so.
You should start a new series, Nutting at Night with Chris.
Nutting at Night. I like it, yeah. But yeah, don't get me wrong. If Cyberpunk 2077 released tomorrow, I'm on it. But it's almost like it's a big marquee game that you want to get involved with. But whereas Stone Shard is like, it's just this like indie game that is pretty cool and interesting.
Yeah.
There's no need for me to kind of put myself out of source to try and play that game, because when I do my squirrel gaming, it's like, well, I'm taking 2 hours of potential sleep away from me.
Yeah.
When I'm already exhausted. So
it's one of the things I like about, and for a long time I've preferred with games that are more story driven, like action games and things like obviously Last of Us Part 2 is coming out, is because I can play that game in chunks, like you said, a couple of hours here, a couple of hours there. It isn't that complex. It's point at bad guys, shoot, find ammo, find resources, follow story. Whereas when you try and play some of the games with more complex mechanics and stuff, it can just, if you don't keep up the playing of games like that, you can just lose it because it's so complicated.
Yeah, you get bogged down and you forget shit, and then you go back to it and you're like, I don't remember this, I'm not going to do it. But yeah,
exactly, for sure.
And the other thing I was doing, which is, I can only speak about it kind of cryptically, but I've been writing some stuff for maybe a new kind of video on the channel.
Ooh.
And doing the research for the game that is in that section of the thing makes me want to go back and play that game. It's a game I played before and I really enjoyed, and it's not a long game, so no reason not to, I guess.
It's funny, I think about going back to that game sometimes as well, Chris, but I think about going back to it for different reasons than the reasons you think about going back to it, which is interesting, especially given what we may or may not be talking about on this mysterious new thing.
Yeah, so stay tuned. Hopefully there'll be some movement on that. But hey, shout out, the patrons will know before the public knows. So, not saying you have to.
Indeed.
Not saying you have to join the Patreon, but there's good things there. Perks, yes. All right.
I know I didn't play any games, but can I shill really quickly?
Oh, please do. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Because this is gaming related, and talking about squirrel gaming, this bad boy is what I gave away on my channel, SuperShow Jonesy.
It's mental. What's that? Nintendo
Saturday.
Switch Lite?
Nintendo Switch Lite in turquoise. One of my viewers won that. I am going to be sending that to him tomorrow, so that'll be good.
Nice.
And this right here is the one that is going to be given away this Saturday. I just thought I'd share. So if anybody hasn't checked it out yet, please do check out my channel, SuperShow Jonesy on YouTube, and you can win something every week. And the way you win is you guess what is I'm giving away. So this week, you'd have to guess what this big bastard box is right here.
It's a toughie. It's a toughie.
Yeah, I listened to all of your clues, and I know the ballpark that I've got to be thinking in, but it's hard, man. Yeah. Nice.
It is it's much tougher. So this is where it's going. Actually, is the kind of the guessing thing has now expanded out over like the to be. The clues are not. I wouldn't say they're not cryptic, but they're a lot harder.
Yeah.
But it's meant that it lasts longer. And what's been quite cool actually is that a lot of people on our Discord for this show have been chatting about it and trying to like figure stuff out, which I've really enjoyed.
That's cool,
it seems like it's something that people have kind of thought about, engaged with. I know Jamie was actually talking to me about the fact that it got his sort of mind ticking over, and he did a bit of looking into some stuff, which is cool. I like that.
I didn't even share my notes with this Discord, and I'm not afraid to say it. I'm looking out for me and me alone. There were some of the clues that I figured out, and I realised that was like a big breakthrough moment, and I didn't want to share that learning with anyone else.
Fair enough.
And we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens on Saturday, right, Jonesy? Saturday, 2 p.m. GMT.
It should be 2 p.m. Or if it's anything like last week, it'll be more like 4. But it will be 2 p.m. Let's say
between 2 and 4. Yeah. Can I give a bit of a shill as well, seeing as we're doing it? So, by the time that this podcast goes out, Command & Conquer Remastered would have been released, and I'm hoping to play it on stream. So,
nice.
Yeah.
Hot Panic.
Yeah, that's twitch.tv/Hot Panic. You guys are involved more often than not in those streams, so it's for all intents and purposes a SuperShow stream. So come check it out. Yeah.
I'm also hoping to. I don't want to sort of say what the idea is, but I know Chris. We talked about I want to do some streaming, and I've actually. So hopefully we can maybe do that next week or the week after. But
what is yours? Twitch.tv SuperShow Jonesy.
SuperShow Jonesy, indeed. But now I've managed to sort of nail down my setup in the garage. It's now not kind of as ropey with the Wi-Fi and stuff, because I've got a wired connection now plugged in, so I should be able to do a bit more streaming as well, which is wicked. Yeah. We're just all waiting on Jamie to do some streaming, because I know we want to see that.
I don't know. I have no plans, nothing formal to announce. What I will say is that even if you struggle to make the live streams that Chris and Jonesy do on their Twitch channels, because maybe the timings aren't quite right, or you're working or you're busy, still worth heading over to their Twitch channels and following, because those numbers all help push them towards being able to monetize that shit, which is an important step. So everyone, if you can and you'd like to help, then get following.
That would be absolutely delicious. All right, enough of the chit-chat, fellas. Let's get into the hardcore business, the news. What's been happening?
What a week! What a week!
Loads of shit has been happening. I think what we've got to start off with, though, is the thing that's probably going to be covering a lot of people's kind of social media at the moment, which is the Black Lives Matters protests, right? And as we're a gaming podcast, how it kind of relates to things of that nature, because one of the biggest kind of
we were going to record this show today, because we're recording Thursday. We were actually going to record this tonight, weren't we? After the PlayStation 5 game event, which was supposed to happen.
Yes, yeah.
9 p.m. our time, I think.
Yeah, so Sony put out a statement saying that, no, they're not going to have this PS5 event. Rightly so. They definitely made the right call on that one. Basically saying that they don't want to take add another, a distracting voice to kind of the things that really matter at the moment, right? And I think I really commend them and numerous other companies for kind of just saying, you know what, it's not the time, because it isn't the time. But yeah, a bunch of companies have delayed some big announcements. Sony PS5 event, Cyberpunk 2077 was going to have this Night City Wire event, which we assume we're just going to show off some more of the game. Activision has delayed Warzone Season 4. As well as, I think, the Call of Duty Mobile, the new season.
Yeah. EA... Season 7, I think it was on mobile,
EA have delayed their Madden thing, although, as we said before, why they need to advertise a Madden thing, we don't even know. Like, either you buy it or you don't buy it. Like, it's one of those things, right? And, numerous others. Another one that was interesting was NoClip. There was a NoClip documentary that's going to come out that has also been delayed, and I think it's good. I think it's good that people are kind of delaying this, because maybe, at the moment there's more important things to think about. But yeah,
I think not being cynical at all, and I'm not saying these companies are. I do think it's sort of two-pronged as well, because one of the things is they've all said like they don't want to take. I guess they don't want to take up airtime, and they don't want to start talking about other stuff when there's, like they've said, there's more important things that people are talking about. And we know that there's issues with the Black Lives Matter thing that have been rife in the games industry over the years, like especially even the jokes about like multiplayer games, like 14-year-olds on COD just being openly racist and stuff. But I think the other side of it is, they want people to watch these events, and they want people to enjoy them, and it's very difficult to do that at a time when the media and when news and when everyone's thinking about something else. So it kind of feels like it would dilute their message to try and battle against this on social media.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, for example, if you're a gamer, but you also are someone who's following what's going on in the world at the moment, it's kind of splitting where you're paying attention. So I think it works in both directions. They don't want to dilute what they're doing, and they also don't want to take any attention away from this.
You don't want to be, to piggyback off what Jonesy's saying about the more PR marketing element to this, which isn't the whole conversation, but it's part of it. Yeah. You don't want to be the one company that says, actually, we do want to cut through the conversation at the moment to promote a fucking video game. Like, when everyone else is saying, hey, now's not the right time, you don't want to be the one who goes, you know what, actually, Call of Duty, fucking bring it on. Here's what you get. Because for as much as there are people around the world who want to see that, and I get that we're going to get into this discussion about people outside of America, we're going to get into a discussion about people who want a quote-unquote distraction. But it's, like Chris said, it's not the right time.
Yeah,
no.
Yeah, it's quite a contentious kind of thing to discuss as well. Like we're obviously unsure how to kind of treat it, but there was an interesting comment that came on one of our videos, and I just want to read it out. So it's not necessarily a comment of the week, but it's just something that I think we should talk about. Is a comment coming in from Nick Leaks saying, "What are your guys' thoughts on the PS5 event being delayed due to the issues in the media right now, being the Black Lives Matter movement? I gave an opinion on social media that certain people use these events and certain platforms like gaming or reading or music as a way to escape reality and cope with the struggles in their lives." And then he goes on to say, Jamie mentioned an amazing game not long ago that kind of does this in the form of kind words. The responses I got were full of aggression and abuse by people who are standing up for the events taking place. So should want to want equality and us all to support and care for each other. What are our thoughts? It's an interesting question because I can see both sides for sure. You know, people do use gaming as an escape or a coping mechanism. You know, it doesn't matter the color of your skin or whatever. But then on the other hand, people saying, first of all, people should not be aggressive to each other during these kinds of times. No. Right. And especially on social media, there's no reason to abuse anyone on social media if, you know, unless they're just being openly racist, I guess. But
I think there's one thing for us. So it's an emotionally sort of charged atmosphere at the moment, and I agree with you. Like, people shouldn't be. If someone asks, and I think Nick Leaks was asking a fair question. Like, he was obviously saying this is something I and other people use as a way to deal with like life, escape, whatever. But I can kind of see that if you were on social media and you said to someone, if someone said, hey man, it's good that Sony have delayed their PS5 announcement because we're trying to address the fact that a lot of people have to deal with like racism in their everyday lives, and example of that is like American police brutality or wherever it is in the world, right?
Yeah.
And then someone turns around and says, well, sorry mate, but actually I use it as an escape from my everyday life, and I just want to then that's kind of saying to that person, I don't care about the fact that you're trying to change your everyday life. Like, I want to escape my life, and they're saying, well, I want to escape like shit that I have to go through on a daily basis as well.
I've seen some people who are like people like us who are not only are we white, but we also, we don't live in the country that's on fucking fire right now. And we're sat here saying, oh, but what about my distractions? Like, at some point you need to ask yourself, what are you asking to be distracted from?
Yeah.
Do you just not want to read about shit that's important and shit that's happening? Do you not want to hear about what these people are going through? Like, what are you trying to... They're fighting for their escape. Yeah. You want a video game to give you yours? Yeah. And the other thing is, if you really were relying on a 1 hour long live stream that's been postponed, don't forget, not even cancelled, to give you your escape from a reality that we shouldn't be trying to escape from, because if anything, now more than ever, it's a time for proactivity, then there's other stuff. Like, video games haven't gone anywhere. You can still play all the video games you want.
So the commenter mentioned kind words. Kind words are still around, and kind words it's a very powerful kind of platform if you want. So, it's if you have to take a delay in an announcement. So remember, the PlayStation 5 itself is not being delayed. The games aren't being delayed. Just the announcement's being delayed by we don't know how long. But I think if ever there was a reason for stuff to be delayed, it's people's rights. Why not? Protesting police brutality is a good thing.
I suppose if I can, I'll back up Nick Leakes in some sense. This is not what he's saying, but
yeah.
I suppose I can imagine that if, say, like you deal with things like depression and stuff, and you have things in your life which you feel like are a knock, and then you are into gaming, and then you have the anticipation, like the excitement, something to look forward to, and then it gets delayed, then maybe that feels like an extra knock in
100%.
in that sort of sense. But then you kind of have to say, if you then have to empathise with people who are saying, well, hold on, I get that you've taken a knock, but like we've said, there's a lot of other people getting a lot of other shit, and you're asking them to ignore their issues for your issues. Maybe everyone has to be a bit more empathetic across the board and say...
Most definitely. I'm not blaming Nick Leakes for thinking the way he thinks, okay? Like, I get it. When I first heard...
It's a fair question. It's a totally fair question.
When I first heard that the PlayStation event was cancelled, I didn't even connect the reason why. I was just fucking super bummed out. I was like, oh my God, again, I'm going to have to fucking... coming from a selfish point. And then... Jamie, you were telling me about it, and then you said, no, it's because of the Black Lives Matter movement. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, sure. I mean, fuck it. If there is a reason to postpone or move one of these events, yeah, sure, I'm fucking on board.
But even knowing that reason, you're allowed to be disappointed. Like, those things aren't mutually exclusive. You can simultaneously be bummed out that something you were looking forward to isn't going to happen, and also agree with why it's happening, why it's being postponed, and what they're trying to shine a light on in moving themselves out of the way.
Yeah.
Like, those aren't mutually exclusive. You don't have to be solely bummed out that you didn't get your distraction.
Yeah,
it's funny because that's exactly what Chris. I saw you because you tweeted it, Chris. I think that's exactly what you did. You were bummed out that it was delayed, but then you were like, fair enough as to the reason, which is I felt the same way exactly. Yeah. Like, so no, bang on, Jamie.
Fuck, guys. Do I wish that we could be talking about PlayStation 5 now?
Yeah,
absolutely, 100%. But there's certain things that happen in people's lives. It's getting a bit fucking deeper, philosophical now. But there's certain things and certain moments in your life where you just have to say, it's fucking. This is what it is. Like, no way that I'm going to feel about it is going to change it, right? And you almost have to look further into whatever reasoning is happening. It's not like Sony have come up with a bizarre reason, There is a reason for all of these things, and you kind of just have to be a little bit conscious about it, I guess. But yeah, but definitely people on social media should not be aggressive to people that feel this way, because here's the other issue, right? It's funnily enough that the thing in recent memory that explained it the best, you guys are gonna laugh, was the Flat Earth documentary, right?
Right.
Where they're saying, so you've got all of these scientists, and one of the scientists came up and said, if you talk down to the people that accept that or that think that the Earth is flat, then they're never going to come around to understanding why they may be wrong. And it's the same way here, right? If someone is like, oh man, I understand this shit's going on, but I really wish that the PS5 event would still be going on. The people that are responding to that with aggression and abuse, like, fuck you, dude. That's not the way to go about it. What you could do is just try and spread some education in a nice, positive way.
Yeah.
Is it so much to ask for, right? Like,
we've had that in our own Discord, where like the opinion of some people, some of our patrons who hang out in the Discord and stuff like that, is that it's usually very understanding, but like one of the sentiments I've seen shared is like, how does this help? And you're right, like those situations aren't a place for putting people down. They're not a place for like starting fights. They're not a place for abuse. If anything, they're just a place for discussion.
Yeah.
You know?
A lot of people as well, I think often people assume that if someone says something like, if someone asks a question, people assume like bad intent. Yeah. They don't assume that they're genuinely asking a question. Yeah. Like Nick Leakes might have genuinely been saying, I don't get this, why people think this is okay. And then someone could have said, actually, because of this reason, this reason, this reason. And he might have turned around and gone, I completely agree.
100%.
We talk a lot about, I mean, this is very different. We talk a lot about games, and I think Jamie was saying, we were chatting again yesterday about a conversation we had before about critics and how they review games, etc. And Jamie made some really good points, and he changed my opinion on how you perceive ratings and critics and what people say and what a 10 out of 10 means. And I changed my opinion because I was like, he made some really good points. I didn't go into the conversation thinking I've already decided what I think, and then I'm just going to keep shouting until he agrees with me.
Even on more politically charged things, like you two are the closest thing I have in terms of friends who are like dads. And I come to you two all the time on political shit where I'm like, I have to ask the question. Because I know I need to get educated, or I know that I have like an opinion or an outlook that doesn't always fit in with the status quo, or that I'm missing a piece of the puzzle. And because you two are always very clued in and level-headed and reasonable and rational, I go to you two quite a lot. And sorry, Chris, I know you pulled the face at the idea that you might be my dad, but like
no, but I'm saying
it's true.
I pulled the face because we are dads.
Yeah, but like I'm saying I'm one of your sons.
Oh yeah,
Right.
Yeah, you are, buddy. Now go to your room and.
I'm in my room.
He's already in it.
Stop touching yourself.
You can't. There's a reason I positioned the webcam the way I do. You don't know what's going on down there.
Put some pants on. Damn it. But it's also kind of hypocritical, right? Where people who are campaigning to end aggression and abuse are being aggressive and abusive. Right. I understand that there's a lot of adrenaline going on, but yeah, I think that the thing that keep on coming back to this comment is kind words, right? That game is about you don't know a person, but you hear their story, you try and see their perspective, and you try and send them a nice little message to kind of help them along. And I think that's kind of what this whole situation kind of needs. It needs an understanding from everyone, you know.
There is. Can I be slightly not incendiary, but maybe a tiny little bit, in that there is a little bit of an extra hypocrisy, like you were saying about those people who are a bit hypocritical.
Yeah.
We have seen in recent days, weeks and stuff, though, some people, like companies and whatever, like games companies, who are quite happy when things are in the political sphere to talk about stuff, but who then, until this happens again, you won't hear anything about this, and they won't.
Oh yeah.
Won't. And
well, it's bandwagoning, right? Hey, everyone's talking about it, and it's what Jamie was saying earlier as well. It's if I don't talk about it, then I'm the shit. You know, the little shit in the corner, but I need to talk about it because everyone else is talking about it. But yeah, if you don't change anything, it's I imagine this is what you're gonna start covering, Jonesy, because so EA and Madden have postponed their thing, and the NFL have obviously put out a statement saying, oh yeah, you know, we stand for the rights of this, that, the other, and yet their treatment of what's his face,
Colin Kaepernick,
yeah. Well, you see, I always called him Copernic. I don't know why, but yeah, Kaepernick.
I always hear Kaepernick.
Probably because you think of Copernicus.
Maybe.
I mean, yeah. I would, right?
Another thing, while you were on that thought, people have pointed out as well, Sony, obviously the owners of the PlayStation brand, who have made the decision that they've made this week, they pointed out that when Sony were holding a photography contest a little while ago, like a year ago, whenever it was, they basically banned all photos from the Hong Kong protests. So, Sony have been, that was another thing where, that was not, the issues at hand were different, but we're still talking about peaceful.
It seems hypocritical. It seems hypocritical.
Yeah, we're talking about people fighting for their rights and coming up against, corruption within the police and abuse of authority and all kinds of issues like that. But because that was China, lots of major companies kind of turned a blind eye and didn't support the people of Hong Kong, didn't advocate for their rights and so on and so forth. And in the case of this particular example, you could argue even went so far as to censor people who were trying to talk about that issue or create discussion around that issue. Yeah. And now all of a sudden, this is not a like-for-like situation in terms of the comparisons you can make, but they've had to change their tune very quickly and come out in support of, the peaceful protests and the movement going on at the moment.
It's also because I think we mentioned about Infinity Ward. They put out a statement saying they're going to do a lot more to have like moderators and to monitor like IDs and what people are saying in comments and in games to make sure people aren't, you know, being racist and doing other things that you wouldn't want to have online. But then it is kind of like a lot of people have reacted to that by being, well, where were you a year ago, 2 years ago? Why does it take an event like this?
Yeah,
but
like
I think
this social issue, it's not unique to the past week, right?
No,
Yeah,
but
right.
I suppose maybe the best thing to do, I guess, here rather than criticise them for past actions, maybe we have to draw a line under the past and then say going forward, like everyone has got to be better.
I absolutely agree. You definitely have to. You
Otherwise, you just constantly talk about the past, and then maybe it's not that useful.
Yeah, I think you can still criticize prior things, but it should always be a secondary thing to praising people that have, however long it's taken, you know, changing the way that they operate or the way that they think, whatever it may be. You know.
Oh, can I like? I want to. This is unrelated but slightly related.
Yeah.
In that there was a Twitter account that I was like, this is incredible. It was called something like Influencers in the Wild, I think, on Twitter, and it was videos that people had recorded of YouTube and Instagram and Twitter influencers going to protests and you know, broken windows and things, and then taking pictures as though they were part of a protest or rebuilding something or like patching up something or helping, and they were just there for the photo op. And then there's one egregious example, which was a girl using a power drill to screw a chipboard board over a broken window, and she'd borrowed the drill from the dude who was off camera who was actually fixing it. She'd just done the photo, and then she got in the car and pissed off. I just wanted to share that because I thought that was crazy
dude,
to me. I was like, what are you doing?
Jake Paul got into some trouble recently because it appeared that he was in the midst of kind of like the rioting and the looting.
I thought he went to a protest, didn't he? He was at the protest.
Logan Paul went to a protest for sure. Jake Paul was probably at a protest as well, but there's footage of him and his entourage, because of course these fucking douchebags all have entourages, and they were, so a PF Chang's, like a Chinese chain, right, was being looted, and one of his entourage went in, took a bottle of vodka or something and gave it to Jake Paul, and Jake Paul was like drinking it, and there's a lot of questions of like,
what the
no, and it's a lot of questions of like,
it's just a fucking looter now. You've just looted.
No, but he was filming it, so the question is like, you're just capitalizing on the situation, right?
But but hold on, he's just documented himself committing a crime.
No, his friend committed the crime, his entourage.
No, but surely that's stolen property,
well,
right?
He has since released a statement, saying like, oh, it's not what it looked like. I was there to protest this, that, the other. You know, we didn't partake in any looting or rioting or blah, blah, blah. It's just like, man, I know in the loosest way possible, we are kind of like, you know, the term influencer, but man, like actual influencers, it just feels like they just can't ever fucking get anything right, you know? They're always just doing this like bullshit. I don't get it. Stay at home and play games.
I guess it's tough. It is tough, I suppose. How do you feel like you have to say something, but then can you get it right?
Well, look, dude,
or are you just always going to be wrong? I don't know.
Logan Paul, his brother, went to the protests. As far as I know, has not been like, I don't like the dude. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to like defend anything here, but from what I can see is he was peacefully protesting. He put out a very powerful piece on his social media, kind of explaining situations and asking people.
I saw that. Actually,
and you know, like fucking fair play to him.
Like fair play. Yeah.
You know, he's done a lot of bullshit in the past, but in this particular instance, fair play. I don't understand how two people from the same family can go so fucking polar opposite.
Jake should have called him and been like, yo, what are you doing? And he's like, do what I'm doing, don't go looting. Come with me. Peaceful protest is the way to go.
I don't know. Anyway, you know, everyone's always fucking in it for the drama. Just stay home and play games, is what I say. Influences. Anyway, let's move on to some other gaming news that is obviously not politically charged, but it's pretty shady. Now, I'm gonna defer to you two guys on this one because I'm not too clued up on all of this. I know the bullet points, as it were, but it's the whole story about Kerbal Space Program 2. which was obviously announced last year at Gamescom, because I rewatched our Gamescom vlog on All Time Gaming, and Jamie came back from opening night live. He was pretty pissed off about the whole thing, but he said, "But hey, at least there's Kerbal Space Program 2 looking at you, buddy, Alex Jones." So
I completely forgot that they'd announced Kerbal Space Program 2, I must admit, until Jamie mentioned this story to me. I was like, I forgot that was even a thing.
Kind of a reason for it, right? So I'm going to throw it to you guys. You guys get involved in the story.
Would Jamie, do you want me to give a rundown, or do you want to go?
No, you do it. You do it. So this is the game that means more to you than any of us. So it's a mad story. Mad story.
It is a mad story. So yeah, Jamie sent me the link to this story from Jason Schreier. A really good article actually. Like I like the way he sort of set it all out. So basically, what happened was obviously Kerbal Space Program was a very successful flight sim game from, I don't even remember the year that it actually came out. That I've had a lot of fun playing. Really enjoyed it. Had a big cult following. I think it sold like 2 million odd units. It did surprisingly well for, I guess, the type of game it was. Surprise, surprise, they were going to capitalize upon that by releasing a sequel. And as Chris said, it was announced at Gamescom. The sequel was going to be released by Take-Two, or one of their publishing subsidiaries, because they bought the rights to it after the success of the first one. They handed the game over to Star Theory, who were going to develop the game. And they had 2 years to do it, so fantastic. The game was given an extra 6 months, I understand, like late last year, but that was apparently fine, and there wasn't going to be a problem with the extension. It had been agreed. So Star Theory, as far as they're concerned, everything is fine. Everything's progressing okay. Roll on December of 2019, and this has got to be the worst. Like, so we've been through this sort of shit, but legit, this is the shadiest way to do this. They receive a the development team at Star Theory received a LinkedIn message from a guy called Michael Cook, who is at Private Division, who are the publishing label owned by Take-Two. Basically saying, "Hey guys, do you want a job?" To which it's almost like receiving a message from your boss.
Of the company, by the way, we should go every single person.
Well, I think it was just the development. For everything I read, said it was just the development team. So
that's what they were, right? They are a development team.
Oh, I didn't know if there was a couple of other people who weren't offered the role. But you're right. Like okay, so yeah, let's say everyone was offered a job, but that's like your boss's boss emailing you direct saying, "Do you want a job?" To which is obviously a bit strange, because you'd say, "What's going on?" As far as I understand, like a third of the team, basically, after a meeting they'd had with the people who actually owned Star Theory, decided they were going to take that offer. And the long and short of it is that there'd been discussions behind the scenes between Take-Two to actually buy Star Theory. That buyout hadn't really worked, so Take-Two had decided that they were going to continue the development at a new studio that they were just going to create themselves, and move the development team from Star Theory over into this new company, which they then went on to call Intercept, which is horrendous. Like, don't call it Intercept. Call it like, "We're really sorry."
Brutal.
It is brutal to name it that.
Call it Scumbag Central.
So I want to say, so apparently, like immediately, or pretty much immediately, the creative director and their studio head from Star Theory were moved over to Intercept, and then, like I said, a third of the team went, and then a few more people went, until it was like 50% of the team moved over. Some people didn't want to move over because they thought it was like a pretty shady move. Fair enough. Some didn't want to go. I know there was one guy who said he was like quite a big fish in a small indie company, and he liked that setup, and he wasn't prepared to go and be a number in a giant company, to how it was going to work. So it's kind of a weird one, because at the end of the day, Take-Two own the rights to Kerbal Space Program. They obviously get to dictate who develops that game. But when they've given Star Theory the right to make it, they've given them an extension of like 6 months, which is not unheard of. It's part of the course of games, right? I don't understand what happened here. Like,
also because like the game must be close to finished, right?
Surely. But one extra wrinkle then, just to sort of cap the story off, was this happened in December. You roll into the new year, and in 2020, the heads of Star Theory said, in order to save their business, because the only revenue source for them at this time was coming through the development of Kerbal Space Program 2, they were going to come up with a whole load of brainstormed ideas. They had a good track record, so they were going to go to publishers who, at games conferences and stuff, they were going to go to GDC, and they were going to pitch new ideas and try and get funding in order to save their business. COVID-19 happens, which means GDC's cancelled, which means they can't pitch anything, and so their business is done. So half of that company of I suppose lost their jobs. Star Theory's no more.
Man.
But Kerbal Space Program 2 still exists. It's still going to be made by Intercept. It's now been delayed until 2021 because, of course, it has. Because I think this is the wrinkle part. Like, I don't know how this works. Do they get to take all the assets and everything that's been made to this point?
Maybe once they've gutted the company, right, and the company's in a bad, like, in the black books, that they almost have to say, oh,
we'll buy everything.
Yeah, we'll
from
buy
you.
almost like a really weird way of doing a hostile takeover, I guess, right? But you're not actually taking you're not taking over. You're taking over the people and the IP, but you're not. It's so fucking weird, the story, dude. Especially because it's Take-Two involved from the get-go in 2017, and then going to Take-Two involved with Private Division and getting
well, so they own they're the one. Take-Two are the ones who bought out the rights to Kerbal. So I suppose they own that. They own the IP.
Yeah.
But then for me, it is how much of the game Kerbal Space Program 2 developed by Star Theory. How much of that do they own? Because you have to assume now that they violate the contract is now.
But you'd imagine the nature of the contract. Like if you owned the IP. And you essentially had a contract with the development team to make a game, you've got to imagine that you own everything they make, always.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
it'd
be very hard to imagine that, like, that even if the company had survived,
but hold on, Jamie,
would have walked away with anything.
I think there are some Cooking Mama devs that might disagree with you on that one.
Yeah, I mean, stranger things have happened, I guess, but like, I don't know, I'd imagine, but I mean, we've worked in creative industries before and we know what the contracts are like on an individual level and also on a wider level when it comes to how careful people are about making sure they own everything that you make under certain circumstances.
Yeah, totally.
The interesting thing there to me is that's a good analogy. But if I'm editing something and I get a contract to edit a video, and then I'm going to deliver a video, and then they take that away from me and stop funding me, and then say we want all of your files, I might say no. You can have an export.
But if they have,
we
don't know the nature of the contract. Like,
no, exactly.
It'd be very surprising to me if Take-Two bought the rights to Kerbal Space Program, brought in Star Theory to make it, and didn't have a very specific contract in place that determined that everything that Star Theory made was theirs. Like, you don't do that.
No. But then I just wonder, is there some sort of slight backlash from Star Theory, like the people at the top who basically say, "Oh, we lost that drive. Oh, we've misplaced this."
Maybe, but when you don't have a business anymore, and all you're left with is a hard drive with an unfinished build of a game that you don't own, then it's like, okay, great. You can leak it, I guess, but then you'll probably get sued.
Yeah. Do you know what? You sell it to EA, and EA make a game out of it, and you go, there you go.
We don't want to sell it to Kerbal Space Program. I don't know, but there's another kind of thing that people, the flip side of it. There must have been a reason, and you hope it's not just purely greed, but there must have been a reason that Take-Two said, you know what, we have to do this.
I know what you mean.
One of the owners of Star Theory said that there was some slightly odd conversations, I think, around royalties that Star Theory were going to get, and also the nature of the contract. And because apparently the buyout, like, they were willing to sell the company, so they were going to sell it to Take-Two.
Right.
Or one of Take-Two's subsidiaries, but that discussion fell down, and I think he actually mentioned that royalties for Kerbal Space Program 2 was one of the reasons it fell down. So I wonder I think it was around ambiguity as to how much they would get based on how well the game did.
So what you're telling me is it was motivated by greed. Fuck. Well, there we go.
Well, no, it doesn't have to be greed. It could just be getting paid, right? Like maybe Take-Two are like, or Private Division are like, we need to get paid, and then Star Theory are like, well, we need to get paid, and then it could simply be that they're trying to cover their own costs, or they're trying to, rather than greed, it's just like survival, right? Often with companies, it's survival.
I don't know if it's survival with Take-Two fucking
Well, not survival,
Interactive,
but-
though. Like a $15 billion company like that publishes everything from the biggest like sports games in the world to GTA.
Well, when I say survival, I mean more like I suppose success. It's more about like whether you class it as successful or not. I'm sure Take-Two have a margin, and they've got to they want to make a certain amount of money, as opposed to greed. Right?
I think
Like,
I think it's a business move that like it's certainly predatory, and they're trying to take advantage of vulnerable people in vulnerable situations. And as Chris alluded to earlier, it's not hard for us to imagine similar situations to this. Like we can look back on experiences that we've gone through and ask ourselves, I wonder if this hadn't happened, and let's say a company had gone about things in the way that Take-Two did, than saying, okay, rather than the buyout, we're going to create a new company and offer them all jobs, what would have happened? And it's like, yeah, that would have shaken up the company, and it would have been predatory, and it would have been difficult.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so many questions. I mean, I don't think we'll ever get answers either, like because no one's going to come out and go, "Oh, here are the tapes of the conversations that we had behind the scenes." It seems super shady, and for someone like me that is a big fan of the original, I can't wait for a sequel to come out, and it looks like I'm going to have to wait now till 2021 anyway.
The fall of 2021, no less.
Yeah, but hold on,
not
Jonesy.
gonna-
You know what? You're going to have plenty of games to not finish in the meantime. So
that's very
Don't
true.
worry.
No, Chris,
Don't worry about
that's why he's looking forward to it, because you technically can't finish it, and so you'll never be held accountable.
Gotcha. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, look. Let's move on from some pretty heavy and weird and bad news to some good news, right? Because you always need the sweet with the sour, because after the rain comes the sun. All right. So do you guys remember that?
I'll actually say there is a bad slant to this as well if you want to be that guy, but let's celebrate the good first.
Okay, yeah. Sure. Well, the two pieces of good news, and then there's some weird news, but we'll get there. Kingdoms of Amalur. Don't even know if I'm saying that right, but it was.
I think you're going too much of a lure.
Amalur.
It's more of it's kind of Amalur.
Amalur. Is it? I don't know.
Amalur.
Well, like Lurpak. Okay. Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning was a game. It was an RPG game. I never really played it. I think. But it's a highly rated game. But what's interesting is a page on the Microsoft Store has come up for Kingdoms of Amalur Re-Reckoning. So a remaster.
Oh, that
or
name,
a remake, I guess.
horrible.
Remake. No, not a remake. Remaster. I'm getting so confused. It's a remaster. And it's kind of a weird one, right? Because there was no kind of press release with it, as far as I'm aware. Just kind of showed up on the Microsoft Store. And there's an option to redeem a code, but there is no pricing and no release date.
Interesting.
Yeah, so if I remember correctly, it was like 38 Studios or something like that.
Yeah, I think that's what they were called.
Yeah, that was formed. They created this game, Kingdoms of Amalur. I think it was based on a R.A. Salvatore novel or story or whatever it may be. It had some like Skyrim dude attached to it, and people that played it fucking loved it. And then for whatever reason, I think we may have covered it in an ATG video at one point. But long story short, the company closed down. The IP kind of fizzled out. Obviously, it's still owned by someone because this is happening. Microsoft own it. Yeah, so it's pretty cool. I'm sure a lot of people that were fans of the game are going to be really excited about this. But what's maybe more interesting, a slant on it, is this a taste of more to come? Is this kind of like
A tease.
Yeah, is this testing the waters, right? Is this kind of saying, how interested are people in this IP? And
I think this is by accident. This is one of those where they didn't mean to put it live yet.
oh no,
and
but
someone
I'm
ticked,
saying just
go live.
I'm saying remastering it to begin with.
Oh right.
And saying like, hey, is there an audience here? Can we maybe bring this back?
But who would be bringing it back?
Microsoft. Why not?
But
Who
but
owns
who would they? Who?
I don't know who
EA
owns. I don't know who owns the IP now.
EA published it.
Okay, but do they own the IP?
I don't know, but the developer doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, the developer doesn't exist anymore, but that has never.
So that's
never stopped sequels coming out before.
But then you're saying, would EA of all publishers like fund the development, find a new team to help them develop a sequel to an RPG that was such an infamous financial failure that it shut down the studio that made it?
Yeah, but there's a really weird. For the life of me, I can't remember. I probably should have looked it up before the podcast. But the failure and the shutting down of that studio, from what I can recall, didn't have a lot to do with the game itself, and more case to do with the egos in the development. Yes,
you're right, and like the development of it was long and storied in a bad way, and I think someone came out and said, I can't remember who it was, that it would have needed to sell 3 million copies to break even, which in video game terms is crazy. Because it actually sold fine for what it was, and it also reviewed fairly well. I think personally, I'm just going to say it. I think it's one of those games that nostalgia like gets to people about, and I think they remember it in a far nicer light, a kinder light than it actually should be remembered. Like, it's a slightly above average action RPG, and I don't think it's much more than that. But fair enough, that's just my 2 cents. But the thing I was hinting at earlier with the negative side to the story, Jason Schreier's already thrown in. We can't get away from that guy. Thrown in his 2 cents. I'll just quote his tweet because I can't put it in better words than he can. Wonder how much the profit from this re-release will go to the people who actually made the game at Big Huge Games, all of whom were robbed of their last 2 paychecks when Kurt Schilling's 38 Studios exploded. Yeah. So already he's pointing out, like, the people who made the game didn't even get their last 2 paychecks because of everything that went wrong with it. And now here's someone stepping in to mysteriously remaster it and re-release it and make probably a boatload of money.
I would say probably those people won't. Yeah, those people probably won't see a dime, a cent, a dollar, a pound, a euro, a rand, nothing. To be fair,
you've got to assume when, like we were just talking about, when studios go down, there's a catalogue of stuff that they own, IPs, but whatever, and they must sell those off to make back as much money as possible in order to pay off their creditors and all sorts. So you have to assume that somebody somewhere bought this up, probably for a marked down price, and as far as they're concerned, they have nothing to do with the people that made it, so they're not going to give them anything.
I'm not surprised it's coming. Unfortunately, I'm not surprised that something like this is coming up on the Microsoft Store, because it would seem that like that IP was maybe it's a decent IP to have, right? And then Microsoft are like, well, we need fucking games.
Oh, I don't think this is a Microsoft thing. I think this leaked on the Microsoft Store because it's up on the Microsoft Store.
Do you think it's just like a multi-platform kind of thing?
Sorry. Yeah, I absolutely think this is coming to PS4 and everything else.
Interesting.
Oh, sorry, I've got my allergies are kicking in. Yeah.
See, I would have. You may definitely be right, but I would have. Maybe it's just my kind of like hope that Microsoft would have bought the IP, give it to a studio or create a studio and just say, it's ours now, and we're going to start. First thing, we're going to release this remaster, and then the next thing is we're going to work on a sequel.
I think
that would be a cool move.
I think that EA's event next week and whatever it is, I think they announce it as a cross-platform remaster that is just made to cash in on the fact that
you are probably right.
The fact that people have forgotten how average Kingdoms of Amalur was, and the threshold has passed, and now we can get excited about average games again.
I mean, fair enough. Okay, the next bit of good news is Total War Saga Troy, when it releases, is going to be released for free for the first 24 hours. As Jamie kind of alluded to, though, there is a kind of an asterisk on that one as well, because it is an Epic Store exclusive.
I mean, not an asterisk for us normal people who can engage with who can engage with launchers that don't have a wish list or whatever people are complaining about nowadays. But still, apparently an asterisk for some people is the like-dislike ratio on that trailer will tell you. Yeah,
but regardless of that, like the fact that Epic Store have been doing a lot in kind of like getting people free games, right? The most notable one recently was GTA 5.
GTA 5
and I guess Borderlands Collection.
Borderlands pre-sequel and 2, so the Handsome Jack collection, Civ 6.
Yes, and Civ 6, right? Big games in their own right, but this is the first time it seems that they're going to be releasing a brand new game for free. Granted, for the first 24 hours, but man, you got to hand it to Epic. Like that's a pretty good. Like if you had to have an Epic Store exclusive, yeah, fucking giving it away for free for the first 24 hours is pretty much how you do it, right?
It's kind of an interesting game to pick as well, because that's not going to appeal to that many people.
Oh, dude, it won't even probably appeal to some of the Total War fans themselves, because it's a Total War Saga, which is a different kind of, it's a different beast altogether, right?
So that's what I mean. It's almost like it's like a supermarket offer you something that you don't really want and not many people buy for free. But because you're like, hey, it's a brand new thing and it's free, I guess the idea is that people go in the door of the Epic Store and then they have a look around. They do a bit of browsing and they say, oh, look what I can get in here. It's actually not so scary as I thought it was.
But you see, I think that's what Epic are hoping. But in practice, that's probably the only... I personally have never bought a game from the Epic Store. But you know how many Epic Store games I've got? Quite a lot, because
me too.
I go in there. It's like, oh, GTA.
Oh no, I did. I bought Maneater from the Epic Store. I got that.
Fair
on
enough. Yeah, but it's like, okay, you're giving away GTA. I'm gonna launch Epic Store. I'm gonna download GTA, and I'm gonna fucking leave.
I'm launching it right now to see how many games I've got, having never bought a single game.
Yeah,
I've got GTA 5 on there. I've got Civ 6 on there. I bought Maneater. I did buy Maneater. I'm probably not going to log in, even though I've got an account, just to get Total War Saga Troy.
I've got 14 games in the Epic Store, and I've never paid for any of them. Do you want to know what they are?
Yeah.
Yeah, go
GTA 5, Fortnite, Just Cause 4, World War Z, Assassin's Creed Syndicate, Borderlands 2, Borderlands the pre-sequel, Carcassonne, Drawful 2, Kingdom Come Deliverance, The Bridge, Totally Reliable Delivery Service, What Remains of Edith Finch, and Ukulele in the Impossible Lair. Didn't spend a penny.
I love the fact that you just download every, like Carcassonne. I cannot see you playing Carcassonne.
I don't know what Carcassonne is, baby, but give me that.
It's like a board game thing. It's a fun game, but yeah.
Was Dauntless on the Epic Store?
Yeah, but that's
Dauntless
free. That's
free. Free to play anyway.
Oh, was it free? Okay.
Yeah.
That was it. I remember. Yeah, I've got that.
But so I don't necessarily know if it's doing what Epic wants it to be doing. But
it'll be interesting.
Fair
to
enough.
See
you know,
happens,
game at the end of the day, gamers win. So fucking why not? It does bring up a very interesting question of like, how much fucking money is Fortnite making Epic?
Plenty.
They must have thrown. Like, first of all, we know that they've been spending top dollar to get some of these Epic Store exclusives. How much more do they need to pay a developer in order to say, hey, give it away for the first 24 hours? Like,
we will cover your costs for 24 hours.
Mental.
They're like, okay. How many do you assume you'll sell? 50 million copies? Okay, we'll pay you that equivalent.
Yeah.
No,
but like a drop in the ocean
huge.
for the money that Epic has, I guess.
Right, right. And I think it's going to get like weirder and weirder as like they acquired a handful of studios, right? Like a month ago. Some of them were quite big. I don't know if they acquired them or if they just acquired the publishing rights, but I think we're going to see more experimental stuff. For as long as Epic can afford to adequately compensate the developers, they can take risks in how they try and publish and release those games because they can afford to, and it's their right to experiment and to see what they can bring, what they can do to bring people into their ecosystem.
Yeah,
it's weird to me because it's like they just need, like, if they've got that much money, right, and if they're willing to do, like, you can have a game for free, we'll give a brand new game away for 24 hours. They just need to sign one Epic game, Epic in the Epic store, and make it exclusive for, I don't know, 3 months, whatever.
Yeah.
Just to say, like, and then everyone will come because for the game. I mean, I don't know what game that would have to be. It would have to be something. I mean, ludicrous.
They've been doing it like Metro Last Light, not Last Light, Exodus.
No, I think it would have to be. I think it would have to be much bigger.
You could already make the argument that the biggest game in the world is an Epic Store exclusive. Like that's doing most of their work.
But it's free.
I know, but it's made them more money than anything else.
But they're trying to find the next game, right? They know this isn't necessarily going to last forever, so they have to be looking at what's next, what's in the future. Like,
to a certain extent.
I mean, I don't even know.
I don't think any one game, like I don't think making Cyberpunk 2077 an Epic Store exclusive would bring in more people than Fortnite does.
But do you not think it would bring in like a brand new audience? Like
It would bring a different audience. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, true. But
I feel like that's what they need to do is to try and, because what they want to do is steal some of the steam from Steam.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Like they want to take over that, or may not take over. They just want a bigger share of that market. And I think you need a game that's different to do that. From this point out, all the COD games get released exclusively in the Epic Store for a month.
Activision shoot themselves in the foot by taking games off their launcher.
No, but they get paid so much money that they don't care. They're like, have them.
Yeah, they're probably like, you know what, Blizzard's done anyway. We don't need Battle.net.
Yeah. It's all gone.
I mean, like, if you launch GTA 5 in the Epic Games Store launcher, it launches the Rockstar launcher and then launches GTA 5. So there's
really,
yeah.
Oh god,
I
haven't even launched
It's
it.
like Russian dolls.
Yeah, basically, if you got GTA 5 on Epic, you have to install the Rockstar Games launcher as well. So that's probably how they worked out that deal, because Rockstar were like, yeah, sure,
And
make them come through us again.
And then can you imagine if you used the good old games, what is it called? Galaxy?
Oh, right, yeah.
Which is a launcher for launchers, and then so... Jeez.
Launcher to launcher.
Fuck no. Yeah. By the end of it, before the game even runs, you've got like 5 programs up and running on your computer. Anyway.
The genius thing about the GTA 5 part of giving it away for free is Rockstar going, hold on, we get all of our money through people buying shark cards. We don't even make money through the sales of the game. You want to, okay, sure, get more people for free.
You want to pay us money just so everyone can have GTA? Sure, why not? Anyway. Okay, and on to some kind of like, finishing off the podcast with some weird news coming from Sega, of all people. Because they've released a Game Gear Micro, Alex Jones.
I did have a Game Gear. Taz was one of the only games I can remember that I had for it.
Taz, the Tasmanian Devil.
Exactly.
Comes to Tasmania.
Yeah.
Nice.
We mean you.
We do mean you.
Yeah.
Before Jamie's time. He's very like...
The Game Gear was quality.
Game Gear was cool.
That's what I
Game Gear was cool. But yeah, this is really odd because this thing is tiny. And don't get me wrong, I think it looks cool. And I think it's a relatively good idea. But if anyone's seen what a Game Gear looks like, it
was a beast.
Yeah, it was a big chungus. But it had a really small screen in this big chungus body. Okay, so now...
If you imagine... Okay, for people that don't know what it looks like, imagine a Switch all black, like a Switch like light, right? So it's all black though, and then just feed it so many pies that it just gets fatter and fatter and fatter and fatter till it's far too fat, and that is what I'll tell you what,
Jonesy.
And then with a mini little tiny screen.
Jonesy, I'll tell you what. Take the Switch Lite from behind you. Bring it to the camera. There we go. So this is going to be great for people listening on the podcast. But Alex Jones is holding up a Switch Lite box, so you can see what the Switch Lite looks like. Now that screen, if you exclude the Joy-Cons, you could say that's maybe a 90% screen sized compared to the body of the actual Switch itself. If you had to imagine, okay, this is cool, Jonesy. Thank you.
Thank you.
If you had to imagine instead of that screen looking like that, in the same body, but the screen was the size of a postage stamp. Yes.
Yeah, not big.
I think like the screen ratio is maybe like 30% on that device. So
yeah, it reminds me of the N-Gage, the Nokia N-Gage.
Oh,
which
yeah.
This similar screen to body kind of ratio.
Yeah.
But maybe for a different generation.
Except you could still hold the game.
So to be fair to Sega, right? The screen size on the Mini is probably the same size as on the original Game Gear.
Well, yeah. So what was it? It was like just over an inch is the size of the screen. So
wow.
It's really fucking tiny. Do you know that meme from Community where it's Senor Chan holding the tiny little piece of paper? Ooh, how small is this? It's a Game Gear Micro for ants. Okay, well,
that's just going to give you eye strain and all. It's going to be like this.
So it's coming out in Japan. What's interesting is they're releasing it or you can buy a peripheral for it, which is, I don't know if you remember on the Game Boy and the Game Gear, you used to be able to buy these peripherals you attached to it, and it was basically a big magnifying glass.
Oh yeah.
They're releasing one of those for this thing as well. So,
to compensate for its tiny size, you're like, buy it with a magnifying glass.
But that's not where the madness ends, fellas. No, not at all, because So you can buy it in 4 different colors, okay? Which, hey, good idea, variety. But no, because depending on which color you buy will depend on the games that you get. And the madness still...
Oh, because it's obviously preloaded on the thing, yeah.
But the madness still doesn't stop there, because each one only has 4 games on it.
Surely they could have packed games on this thing.
You'd think, right?
Think how big an SD
put
card
in a
is.
fucking micro SD, you could fit 2,000 fucking Game Gear.
But maybe I'm in the wrong in thinking that this is madness, because maybe they did only release 16 games on the Game Gear Micro. I don't fucking know.
I don't know.
I don't know, actually.
I don't know. What were the big Game Gear games? Enlighten me.
Sonic, Shining Force, Outrun, Sonic and Tails. Then something called fucking Bible Adventure or some shit. I don't know.
Gunstar
I think there was
Heroes.
an Indiana Jones. Was there an Indiana Jones game on it? Or
I don't
something?
know.
I kind of feel like there might have been.
But
I don't know. But
it's just
this is a weird idea.
Yeah, it's a fucking head scratcher. I mean, I get it.
If it's £3.50, I might buy it.
No, it's not. It's £50
no.
each.
No, I was joking.
Yeah.
It's obviously not going to be
No,
£3.50.
like when they announced it, I was like, oh, this is cool. Like a nice little novelty. Like I could get behind this. But it's so fucking weird. No ways. Not a chance. Like I'd rather buy myself a Game Boy Advance Micro, right? Like that thing is fucking cool, and it plays fucking Game Boy Advance games. And you almost think to yourself that this opens up the doors to for Nintendo to say, here's how it's really done. Here's a Game Boy Micro, like they did the NES Micro and the SNES Micro that they released.
I'm going to call it now. They're going to release.
But
They're going to release a Game Boy Micro with 4 games on it. There's 50 quid that comes in 4 different colours with different games on it, and you two are going to be going mental.
I'd be more excited because it's a better platform than the Game Gear with better games than the Game Gear.
Jamie's setting the groundwork already. He's like, yeah, I love it already.
Yeah, but it is kind of mad though, right? Like, why?
I'm not going to buy one.
Apparently, when they were like thinking of it, they were only going to release 2 games per color. But then
That's insane.
But then they decided that no, gamers might want a palette cleanser, so then they said, okay, so add another game. And then they didn't like the idea of just releasing 3 games, so they bumped it up to 4. Wow, big fucking deal. I just,
that is shocking.
Like, it could have been cool. It really, honestly, could have been a cool thing. But they just kind of fucking they've gone weird with it. I don't know.
Sega,
none of them.
Sega's always been a bit of a weird company, haven't they?
Yeah. None of them have Taz the Tasmanian Devil on, so I will not be purchasing the Game Gear Micro.
Anyway, further to that, Sega had another announcement. So they kind of teased this revolutionary announcement, and so people's kind of minds started running wild, and they were saying, okay, maybe one of the things, I don't know where it fucking came from, but they was saying that Sega are going to rebrand the Xbox Series X and sell it in Japan, because famously Xbox has not been selling well in Japan. So people were saying, or maybe Sega will just fucking buy it and say, hey, here's our new console. But no, what it turns out to be is Sega announced something called fog gaming. It honestly sounds like someone's had a bit of a mental breakdown, and I'll explain it. Okay, so what they said is they're going to take the CPUs and the GPUs from the arcades in Japan and form a kind of cloud service. So cloud gaming style service, but utilizing arcade GPUs and CPUs, because Japan's fucking full of them, right? And the thinking there is that arcades can utilize
fog gaming.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Fog gaming.
The idea
the worst
behind
name
it,
ever.
yeah, the idea behind it, I guess, is that arcades in their downtime could still be earning revenue by offering up their CPUs and GPUs in their arcade units. And hey, apparently it's pretty good, because it offers less than a 1 millisecond latency, because you've got a whole bunch of powerful CPUs and GPUs in these arcades. But it's just like,
is this because cloud gaming is kind of like centralized, really powerful hubs, and fog gaming is like loads of shitty ones,
just kind of spread out thinly over the entirety of Japan.
Over the land.
It's just, I mean, cool, I guess, but it's just so fucking weird.
Wow. Fog gaming.
That's it. There's not much more to it, fellas. That's how.
Can I stab a final knife into the Sega Game Gear Micro.
Yeah.
So apparently they run on 2 AAA batteries, which gives you 3 hours of game time.
What?
Wait, there's an even better one. I wasn't going to bring it up, but as we're kind of shitting on it, why not? The original Game Gear Micro, original Game Gear, released with dual like stereo speakers. This one, they've released it with a mono speaker, fine, but then they pushed up the price because they included a headphone jack. Why did they include a headphone jack? Because they wanted people to experience the audio quality of the games that were mastered in stereo.
Wow.
I don't know.
Do you know what
Someone at Sega's been fucking smoking and cracking for the last week, and this is.
This, do you know what this really reminds me of? You remember when we were kids and you could, or you and me at least, Chris, where you had the little kind of almost one-use handheld video game thing that had one button to jump and one button to move sideways, and it just went. It's like the modern version
Game
of that.
& Watch or something.
Yeah, Game & Watch. But
exactly that kind of thing.
Except the difference is, and I mean, Josie, I know what you're talking about. They were like more like prizes in lucky packets and shit like that.
I feel like I got something like that in McDonald's.
Yeah.
I got like
yeah, maybe.
Like you could only move the thing to like the left or the right.
Yes,
and it could be in 3 positions.
Yeah, and it's like
a
babies falling from a burning building or some shit like that. And you got to fucking find
or like
with a trampoline.
what's the game like Fuck 'em and Suck 'em or something like that where they jizz from the rooftops and you have to like eat all their jizz.
That's the one. That's the one. Yeah.
No, what's that game called?
I can't remember.
Yeah,
no,
but
it's pump 'em and dump 'em or something.
Yeah,
like
pump and dump.
One
of those.
I've got to look it up now.
Of course you do. You're going to open up your Steam library and open up the game. But yeah, Josie, I guess the difference there was those were fucking, they
were so cheap.
They were
like
so
Jamie said,
cheap
they're basically
that,
free.
Yeah, if this Game Gear Micro is like £10, sure. Yeah, fucking why not?
It's called Beat 'em and Eat 'em. I wasn't far off.
So you beat it, and then they eat it.
Yeah, you control 2 nude women and move them back and forth to catch semen from a man masturbating on a rooftop. It's on the Atari 2600. Go and look it up.
Wow. Okay, and I guess on that bombshell, that's how we ended, and on a really weird, fucking pervy note. Thanks, Sega.
That's how things go these days. This is a Super Show podcast, and the subtitle is "We beat it, you eat it."
We beat it, you eat it. So
I think that's the code for the end of this.
Beat them and eat them, or just beat it and eat it, or beat it and eat it.
I think. I guess beat it and eat it. I guess.
Really?
Beat it and eat it.
Yeah.
Fine. It's a democracy manifest, so there we go. All right.
Do you know what I'm gonna guess on that Game Gear Micro story is that someone at Sega just had loads of stuff lying around that they'd bought from someone who was like just selling shit, like computer parts, and they just were like, "What can we make with these shitty computer parts that we can make a profit on?" And that's what they came.
I don't know, dude. This thing is so fucking small. They must have spent a lot of money to engineer it. Maybe that's why they got to sell it at $50 because they were like, "Fucking no one's going to buy this."
If this is what puts Sega out of business, there's like no more Sonic games ever because Sega crashed and burned after the impossibly bad decision to make the Game Gear Micro.
And it's a shame, because the rumor was that they were going to have a new console, and I was actually kind of on board with it, with a new Sega console.
Even just the idea of something called a Sega Series X coming out in Japan and seeing what that looked like and how that was branded and how people responded to it, that was fascinating in its own right too. Weird, but fascinating.
A much better story than fucking Fog Gaming and a Game Gear Micro.
We're going to leverage the power of unused arcade machines during the night to stream games to you with no latency.
I swear that both of these stories just sound like a company that don't have any resource to do anything. So they're trying to just do anything with stuff. I think
Jamie hit it on the head, though. Okay, just kind of wrap it up. Clearly, someone at Sega was smoking too much meth.
Right. We've seen Atari do this in recent years as well. Right. They're kind of like. They're less relevant than ever. They don't know how to make money. They don't know what to do with all the shit they've got. So they're making just random fucking products and hoping people buy them. Putting them on Kickstarter to make sure that they're not going absolutely crazy. Right.
All right, cool. Well, with that, thank you so much for listening. If you are listening on a podcast platform of your choice, do remember to give us a rating of 5 stars, because this is a 5-star podcast if ever you've heard one. And thank you for watching. If you've been watching on YouTube, we really do appreciate it. Don't forget to, consider checking out our Patreon, get some perks. I think we are hopefully going to record a little something for the patrons. So yeah, until next time, take it easy.
Bye. See ya.